Hello, I'm Jill at Ingvid, and today's lesson is about the verb would and how to use it. So it's an auxiliary modal verb, okay? This lesson also links with two other lessons, one on could and the other on should. So if you haven't already seen those, do look out for them. So what we have 8 different examples of how the word would is used in different kinds of sentences. So we have the first 4 here, and then we'll have another 4, and then at the end of the lesson there'll be a little test for you to do yourselves, okay, as well as the quiz on the website. Okay, so let's have a look. Use of would. So first of all, you can use it in a question. If you're just offering somebody something, would you like? So would you like is a useful set of words construction. Would you like a cup of tea? So it's if you have a guest in your home, something like that, or if you're out in a cafe, or you're in the street and there is a cafe, would you like a cup of tea? Shall we go in here? So it's a good way of asking a question in a polite way, okay? So that's that one, nice and simple. And then another one which is quite simple and straightforward as well, as a polite request. If maybe someone asks you, what would you like? What would you like? If they're offering you some food. So you can reply, I would like some salad, please, or whatever it is. If someone is serving some food, I would like some salad, please. So they're very similar, using like with would. Right, okay, so the next 2 examples are called conditionals. So they're a little bit more complicated, but we do have some lessons on conditionals as well. So if you're not sure about conditionals, do have a look at those. So the first one, it's a kind of, if you're imagining something, a future situation, it's imaginary. Hypothetical is another word for that. Okay, you're imagining, oh, if I won a lot of money, what would I do? So I would, what would you do if you won a lot of money? I would maybe give some of it to charity, for example. So that's just imagining a possible future thing. If you're very lucky and win a lot of money, I would. But you wouldn't say I will, because it's not definite. I would is because it's not certain or definite that you would win a lot of money. This is just imaginary or hypothetical, okay? And then there's another conditional, which is in the past. So it's actually too late to do anything about it now, but you're saying you would have done something if you had known about it or whatever. So if I had known that your car had broken down, if the car breaks down, it's not working, the person can't drive. If I had known that your car had broken down, I would have given you a lift in my car. To give someone a lift in this context is if you have your car and your neighbour, their car has broken down, you might say, oh, well, I'm going in that direction. I'll give you a lift, meaning you can get in my car as a passenger. I will drive it and I will drive you to that place as your car isn't working. So that's giving a lift. So if I had known that your car had broken down, I would have given. So 3 verbs there, but have a look at another lesson for that construction on conditionals. I would have given you a lift, but the reason that it's too late, this is the conditional number 3, when it's too late to do anything about it because you didn't know, so you couldn't offer a lift. So but you would use would in that situation. I would have, but I didn't know, so I didn't. Okay, so that's the first 4 examples. So let's move on and have a look at the next 4. Okay, so let's have a look at the next 4. So number 5, would is used after all of these question words. So you probably know all the question words: who, what, when, where, why, and how. So you can use would following each of those words to ask a question. So who would be the best person for this job? If there's a job vacancy, people are trying to decide from within the company, perhaps promote somebody who would be the best person for this job, or maybe they're interviewing people for the job and they've interviewed a few people and then they're sitting trying to decide who would be the best person for this job. Okay? And then for all sorts of questions, what would you do if, what would you do if you saw a ghost? What would you do if you won a lot of money? Any possibility. What would you do if? Okay. Then with when would you like to travel? So a travel agent might ask this because they want to book some tickets for you. When would you like to travel? So like is coming up again. Would you like? When would you like to travel? Then where would you like to go today? If you're making plans for the day, where would you like to go today? And then why would she leave her car there? Maybe she has parked her car in an unusual place. So why would she park her car there? That's a funny place to put it. She doesn't usually park it there. Why would she park it there? Okay. And then finally, how? How would he react if you told somebody some exciting news or some bad news even? How would he react? Okay, so that's all with the question words followed by would. The next one is a bit different. It's about regular past action. It's about something that used to happen regularly in the past. Okay, so for example, my neighbour's dog would howl. This word howl, I think I may have mentioned it in another lesson, but it's the sound a dog makes when it's not happy. And it's sort of, the word howl suggests the sound the dog makes. Howl, howl. And it's a kind of crying sound. So this is actually true. A neighbour had a dog and the neighbour went out to work every day for the whole day. And by the afternoon, the dog was getting very lonely and upset. And it would howl every afternoon when my neighbour was out at work. So I would be in my flat hearing a dog howling downstairs and not being able to do anything about it. So this is something that happened nearly every day, so it was regular past action. My neighbour's dog would howl. It's something the dog did regularly, would howl every afternoon. So that's a bit different from some of these other uses. Okay, the next one is to do with preference, preferring one thing rather than another. So with preference, I prefer tea, not coffee, that sort of thing. I prefer chocolate, not strawberries, or I like both really. But anyway, preference, if you prefer something. And this one, with would, you have to use either the word rather or sooner, either of these. But rather is used a bit more, I think, than sooner. So you use either rather or sooner with would, plus this word, than. So, in the example here, I would rather drink tea than coffee in the afternoon. Okay, so we've got rather and than. I would rather drink tea than coffee in the afternoon. You could just as easily say sooner. I would sooner drink tea than coffee in the afternoon. Just the same. But rather is the more usual word that people use. Okay, so that means I prefer to drink tea rather than coffee in the afternoon. I would rather drink. Okay. And then finally, the idea of somebody's intention, somebody who intends, they have a plan to do something, or they have agreed or promised to do something. And you can say, he said he would clean the kitchen. Okay, so if somebody says they will do something, whether you believe them or not depends on the sort of person they are and whether you can trust them to do what they say. So someone who says he will clean the kitchen and you say, oh wow, thank you, that would be so helpful, because I hate cleaning the kitchen myself, so if you will clean the kitchen, that would be great. But you can also say this if you have it with an exclamation mark at the end. You might be saying, you walk into the kitchen and you see a mess and, he said he would clean the kitchen. You know what happened? You're shocked that the kitchen is still dirty and in a mess. It's not clean and tidy at all. So it depends. If you use an exclamation mark at the end, it sort of suggests that the person who promised to do something hasn't done it. At least they haven't yet done it. Perhaps they will do it, perhaps not. But it's to do with intention. Somebody says they will do something, but we all know that people don't always do what they say they will do. So there you are. Okay, so now we'll move on to a little bit more about using would with have, because there are different forms with abbreviations, and then we'll have a little test to finish with. Okay, so let's first of all have a look at the abbreviations or contractions for would have. So would have written in full is like that. Would have, apostrophe VE. People say would have, I would have come to your party. I would have, but I didn't know you were having one, so I didn't. So would have is like would have but it's more in an abbreviation in speaking, in informal speech. So the apostrophe shows that there is one or more letters missing. HA is missing, so would have, okay? Some people don't pronounce the V in would have, they just say woulda, I woulda. So you sometimes see it written that way. If someone is writing down what somebody said, they might spell it like this, all in one word, woulda, because that's what it sounds like, okay? So it's not correct, but it shows how the person pronounced it. And then finally, we have something that's not correct at all, and I would advise you to avoid it, just as we had similarly in could of, should of, and here we have would of. People have misunderstood that of here, people misunderstand and think that's the word of, but it's not, okay? So I'm crossing that out with a big red pen because it's wrong. But not only do you see it written that way, you also hear people saying it now as if they're saying of. I would have done that, because they've misunderstood, and gradually over the years, instead of I would have done that, they've seen it written of. They've heard people say it that way, and they say it would of, but it's completely wrong. So please try to avoid that one. And if you're speaking, you could say would have in a more formal situation, like in a job interview. You can say would have, I would have, in an informal conversation. Woulda, maybe if other people are saying it, it's okay just to join in. But please avoid would of if you possibly can. Even if you see it written down, it's wrong. Okay. Right, so let's move on then to the little test that I have for you here. So the first one here, you're offering somebody a drink, maybe in your home, and you're asking them tea or coffee, but you wouldn't normally just say tea or coffee. You'd say it a bit more politely than that. So how would you ask them that question using would? Can you remember from earlier in the lesson? Can you say tea or coffee? Tea or coffee? Okay, so you start with the word would. Would you like? Okay, so that phrase would you like is very useful. Would you like tea or coffee or something else? Fruit juice, water, anything. So would you like? Okay. Next one. I've put here same place for holidays, which is just to remind me, if a family go to the same place every summer for their holidays, it's a regular, repeated action. So there's a way of saying that using would when it's in the past. So if you're thinking back, maybe to your childhood, and if you went to the same place for your holidays with your family perhaps every year, but maybe you don't go there now, you can say every year we. Okay, so can you think of a few words to add using would? Every year we. So every year we would go to, and then wherever the place is, France, the south of France, perhaps. Every year we would go to the south of France for our holidays, for holidays. Okay, so that was a regular every year event. We would go to France. Right. Next one. Your friend promised to phone you and you're waiting for her phone call. So you tell someone else, my friend said, How do you say that using would? She promised to phone, or he promised to phone. My friend said, So my friend said, he or she would phone. Okay, and maybe a time before a time. Said he or she would phone before 6 o'clock, something like that. So my friend said he or she would phone. So I'm waiting for their call. Okay. Right, so here, this one, you may be in a restaurant or something, or a shop, and you're wanting to buy something, or to the waiter to bring you something, and you want a bottle of water. Okay, so let's say you're in a restaurant and you'd like a bottle of water. So you ask the waiter politely, or you tell the waiter what you want, but you don't say I want, because I want is not very polite. So asking for a bottle of water, Okay, so I would. What goes with would? I would like. I would like a bottle of water, please. It's always a good idea to include please. I would like a bottle of water, please. Okay. Right. So, next one. Money again. It's difficult to avoid mentioning money. If I won the lottery, a lot of countries have a lottery where you buy a lottery ticket and it has numbers on, and then every week or once a month or something, a number is taken at random from a machine or something like that, and somebody wins a lot of money. So that's the lottery. So if I won the lottery, meaning if I won some money, so you could answer this for yourself if you won a lot of money. If I won the lottery, I would, and then whatever it is that you would do with the money. I would buy a car, a house, I would go on a cruise, give some money to charity, all sorts of things, lots of possibilities. So I would do something with the money, or I would invest it, I would put it in the bank and keep it safe, hopefully safe. Okay, right, and then the final example, it's a rather complicated situation, but I'll try to explain it. So you have a neighbour and she has lost her keys to her house and it's late at night. Okay, so she can't get into her house at midnight to go to bed. So she doesn't knock on your door or anything like that. She has her car there, so she gets into her car and she sleeps all night in her car, okay? And then the next morning, maybe she finds her keys again. She was looking in the wrong place. So she had her keys after all. She finds her keys again. She goes back into her house. And then she might tell you about it later that day if she sees you. She might say what a terrible experience she had. She thought she'd lost her keys. She slept in her car. And you actually have a spare room in your house or apartment where she could have slept there. You would happily have let her come and sleep in your spare room. Okay, but it's too late now because it's the next day. She's found her keys again. There's no problem anymore. So that's the situation. So it's in the past. It's too late for you to offer now. But if I had known that you had lost your keys, So I would have, so what would you say? I would have offered you my spare room, or I would have let you sleep in my spare room, anything like that. But the main thing is, I would have, if I had known, I would have tried to help. So that's the main thing, I would have. Okay. Right, so that's all the different uses of the word would, and with some little bits of information about contractions and incorrect versions and so on. And I hope you found the test useful. As I mentioned, we do also have lessons on the use of could and should in a similar format, so please have a look at those. And there's also a quiz on the website at ingvid.com, so please go and test your knowledge on there. And thanks for watching. See you again soon. Bye for now.